Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to analyze the game between Abdusattorov and Arjun Erigaisi, the Indian. Abdusattorov is in the last round of the 2026 Tata Steel and YKZ. A well-deserved victory for him, and he only needed half a point in order for him to be the champion of the 2026 for the very first time for his career. So this is an interesting game, and it's a huge surprise for it to be like an elite game, to see the Evans Gambit, which Arjun Erigaisi tried to outplay Nodirbek at Abdusattorov with. So we're going to start analyzing the game. Arjun Erigaisi has the white pieces and Nodirbek has the black pieces, okay? So here we go. First, we're going to see the Arjun played e4, which Abdusattorov started with the black pieces with e5. So as I said before, Abdu needed a half a point in order for him to be the champion, and actually he did it in a wonderful way. He was brilliant on his side. He showed the strategic way of comprehension that he has in each and every position, especially when we see the endings of different bishop scholars, which was more profound than Arjun's Erigaisi comprehension. So here we go. Arjun goes knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, which is the normal standard stuff for the Italian game. And here's where we'll see the surprise, which is the Evans Gambit with b4. This is one gambit played in the 19th century. You can imagine that, right? That's awesome. So bishop takes b4. Abdu is well prepared. He accepts the gambit. Of course, the main theory goes with c3, and here's the first point where black can need to take a right decision, because most would think, okay, I play bishop e7, but bishop e7 is like a huge blunder, yes, because white will go ahead and play d4. White will have the center, white will have the initiative, the development, and black will be most likely waiting for his end. So bishop e7 is a blunder in terms of initiative. Of course, Abdu is well prepared, and he played bishop a5. White continues with d4, which is the main theory. d6, the main theory as well. So white goes queen b3. That is regular stuff. That's what main theory says. Here, we could think that knight h6 is a good move, but being a club player or almost an expert player, I can tell you that the right move here is queen d7. I know it looks weird, it looks different, but that is the right move. We're just expecting to develop the knight on g8, and then to have a regular game. So queen d7, castle from Arjun, bishop b6. We are thinking ahead, and we're creating the plan of knight a5 in order to win that bishop. So white goes knight d2. This is a development move. It's never going to be a bad move, but that allows black to continue the plan with knight a5. Arjun went queen c2. Of course, Abdu decided to take the bishop with the knight, which was a good piece from white, almost like a sniper. Knight takes e4, queen c6. So here we're attacking the knight on c4, yes? White needs to defend it or take the bishop on b6. He decided to take the bishop on e6, b6, so ab, de, de, knight takes e5. Here white is winning a pawn. However, he's making some moves, and black will have enough time in order to develop their pieces and attack the weaknesses that we see on the white's queen side. What are the weaknesses? We can see the c3 and a2, which must be defended from the white pieces. Okay, so queen e6, f4. Arjun has his regular style, which is to attack. Knight f6, c4. He's trying to bring the bishop to action. Look at this. So if he goes bishop b2, he'll have this diagonal, which is a great diagonal for his piece. Then black normally castles bishop b2 as he planned. Queen e7. This move is trying to get the queen to c5 and or also b4, depending on the white play. So let's remember that they played this game in classic time, which means that they took several minutes in order to take decisions. White goes a4. This is threatening, not right now, but in the future, bishop a3. If he does it right now, then we just go c5 and defend, yes? But that will leave b6 as weak. So we need to do something here. And here's where Abdu created the brilliant plan, which is to bring the knight to d7, c5, and in the future e6. From e6, this knight will be like an octopus and have control of all of these squares. So white goes knight f3, f6, defending the diagonal and making white to think ahead and make a decision if he wants to play e5. So this forces white to put more pressure on the e5. He will definitely try it out because that will open the diagonal for his bishop. But black just continues with his plan, which is to play knight c5, and then e5. Here's something we need to learn as players that are trying to improve, that when you see the bishops that are heading to your king, do not open lines, okay? So if you open the diagonal, that will give him some counterplay, and it could be risky, and there's of course no need to do that. So Abdu knows it and he just goes f5. He will not allow to the diagonal to be open. So white puts more pressure with knight d4, attacking on f5, which black responds with his plan, which is knight to e6. So you can think, okay, but black is giving up a pawn. Yes, but we're gonna recover it, because if we played knight f7, let's go knight e3, for example, we can recover with the queen or with the knight, and then we will have initiative. If we get to put the knight to f4, then we will have certain initiative there, okay? That knight on f4 will be like the value of a rook. So here's what Abdu did. So Arjun played knight f5, queen f7 as we saw before, knight e3, knight takes f4. This knight is really powerful, and white is trying to get rid of that knight because it's on their side, and of course it's really powerful. So knight d5, bishop e6, developing the piece, knight takes f4. That's per se a good decision because that knight was too powerful. Queen f4, rook d1. Here we can try to think another play. Let's see. Rook f1. Hangs the pawn on c4 immediately, yes. Because if rook takes, right? Yeah, so rook f1 was not a good play. That's why he played rook d1. Black goes rook d8 immediately to conquer that file as well. Here, Arjun goes rook takes d8, rook takes d8, bishop c1, attacking the queen, queen h4. The move for queen h4 is basically to put pressure on the rook and eyeing always the c4 pawn, which is weak. We can analyze the black pieces are well placed and white has so many weaknesses. A weakness is called something that is not defended by any pawn. For example, these three pawns are not defended by any pawns. So the pieces from white, like the rook, the bishop, or the queen, needs to defend these pawns like manually. So these are considered three weaknesses, which black will soon exploit. Rook e4, queen e7, just retreating because it was threatening to win my queen. Rook e3, that is a mistake according to the computer. I'm not looking at the evaluation from the computer. I'm just trying to analyze the game on my own. And here I can, of course, think immediately on queen c5, which is rook e3 was, for me, was a odd move. But who am I to judge Arjun or Erigaisi, right? I'm just saying that it allows black to pin the rook, which is also what Abdu did. So h3, rook d4, bishop a3. So here, we cannot take the bishop, right? Because the rook is defending it. So we have many options. We can take the pawn on c4, queen takes c4, rook takes c4, and we will have this game of opposite bishops and the rooks, which black has certain, I'll say, certain way to win. I mean, he will be in charge of the position, black. So Abdul knows it, and what he did is brilliant. He tried to go to the ending right away with this move, which is brilliant. Rook d4, rook d1, pardon me. Rook d1 check. Here white goes king to f2, protecting the rook on a3. So if, for example, he takes this rook, then I'll take with check, king f1, and then I'll take the bishop on a3. So that's why he did king f2. And here we'll see another brilliant move, which is rook f1. Okay, that almost forces white to take the rook, because if he goes, for example, king g3, I'll take the rook. If he goes king e2, I'll take the pawn on c4 with the bishop with check, and he's almost dropping the rook. So rook, king takes f1, queen takes e3, bishop e2, queen c5, king e2. Here, the plan from Abdu is to exchange as many pieces as possible. Even though we see different color bishops, and the endings are known to be a draw, in this exact position, black has the advantage, okay? Because white has so many weaknesses, and the majority of his pawns are on the white squares, which we, with our bishop, can attack immediately. So Abdu does exactly that. He tried to exchange as many pieces as possible so they can go to the ending from the opposite color bishops. So king d2, queen f2, king c3, queen takes c2, king takes c2 here. So as we're taught from the masters, in the ending, what is the piece that we need to activate? You can pause the video and try to think, what will you do in this position? Okay, I hope you have paused the video, but the right way to continue with this position is to activate the king. So we're going to try to activate as much as possible and bring the king to the center, which is what we're taught. So e6, this pawn will fall because we always have to take care of these squares in order for him to not promote the pawn. So Abdu just takes and gets rid of the problem. Bishop takes g7, yes, but we will play bishop f1 and win a pawn immediately back. So g3, bishop takes h3, king c3, king d5, king b5, bishop f1. This is a really